Hello, welcome everyone to this podcast. I'm here with Samuel Venzi, CTO of GoLedger. So, hello, Samuel, how you doing?
Hello, David. How are you? Thank you for inviting me.
Perfect, thanks. So, well, I'm the maintainer of the Operator Fabric, and we're doing a set of podcasts for with blockchain experts. So, Samuel, please, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. So currently the CTO of GoLedger, a Brazilian company focused on Hyperledger technologies. We work mainly with Hyperledger Fabric and Hyperledger Besu. Also, I am a core maintainer of CC Tools, which is a Hyperledger Labs project, basically a library for chain code development. And also, I am an exam developer for the Hyperledger Fabric certification and also the Hyperledger Besu certification. Yeah.
Wow, a lot of stuff. So, basically, you run like a team of a lot of people, and your 100% of your projects are in Hyperledger Fabric and Besu, right?
Yeah, that's right. So in GoLedger, we have currently around 12 to 13 people, and all of them are working exclusively on Hyperledger technologies, either Fabric, Besu, some of the additional technologies that we have there, including Cacti and stuff like that as well, and also the Hyperledger Labs project that is managed by mainly the team at GoLedger, which is CC Tools. Yeah.
Yeah. And you use CTC tools in any of your projects in GoLedger? Or
Yeah, so CC Tools, just a little bit of history about CC Tools. When GoLedger started in 2017, um, we were learning a lot about Fabric and a lot about how to develop chain codes. Um, I wouldn't say that was very simple at the time, but one thing that we learned along the way was that for basically every proof of concept that we were developing, there were common things that we had to add to basically every project. And those common things, instead of doing the classic thing that developers do, which is, you get your old project, you copy and paste it into the
copy
new
and paste.
one, and you change what you need, and you do that, 3, 4 projects. We started getting the things that we needed. We knew they were common between projects, and we started putting that into an external library that we could import to the project. And then we started maintaining those features on this library, and that's how CC2s got started. Actually, it started as a way for us to have that functionality ready so we could develop chain codes faster. And proof of concepts that we developed for our customers, they took around 2-3 months, and with CC tools we do in 2-3 weeks. So it streamlined the development a lot for us. um, so we thought it was a good idea to open source it because it's something that helps a lot other developers as well. And since we are using open source technologies, Fabric and
Yeah.
Besu, those are
Mm.
open source. We thought it would be a good idea, an exchange, since we are using something that
Yeah.
that everybody can use as well. And then we got accepted into Hyperledger Labs, and now it's something that not only everybody can use, but everybody can contribute to.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you gave back to the community, and I guess that all of what is in CC tools, because based on my experience, almost all of the projects that maybe not now, but back in 2017 and 2018, were to just test the technology, develop a proof of concept, and then uh,
Yeah.
from there take it to production. So you took like all of, all of the common logic, then you put it in CC tool so that you could use it in your projects and then make it faster. But also you had the deployment side also, which at that time was also hard. So what did you do
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. So the deployment part, back in the day, we needed we needed basically for proof of concept a dev environment was fine. But as soon as we started to showcase this to other potential customers, we needed, to have a proper staging and production level environments. And the one of the core things that we do here in GoLedger is the deployment of permission blockchain in a manner that is easy and that is fast and that is production level. So the idea of what we have right now actually came from all the way back in 2018, when we started automating the deployment with first with Bash scripts, then with Python scripts, and then we kind of made that into a proper project, and that's how we got started with the Go Fabric, right? So Go Fabric, which is something that we have right now, and it's the best way we think to deploy Hyperledger Fabric networks. Something that came from all the way back in 2018, 2019, and that started basically as a internal product for us to deploy our own networks to showcase to customers. And then that became a full project, and we've had two prior versions of this project that that our customers used, but that it was not really open to the public. And we are aiming to change it now. We know this year by releasing that to the public as well, with the Go chain and Go Peso and all the things that we have planned on the orchestration side of blockchain. Yeah.
So usually, and this is something that I saw also in this project, because there are a lot of companies and enterprises that use Kubernetes to deploy networks, usually because they already have Kubernetes networks, and in order to deploy APIs and existing applications. So why did you choose this route, and what are the advantages that you see? How did you came to that conclusion? Because for me, I started in 2020. I saw the pain that it was to deploy a network, and then the company at that time was using Kubernetes, and then I thought, okay, let's build an operator, and then let's save time, which is, I think, the same idea that you had in GoLedger.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. It's something that we've wrestled with in the past. But one thing that, and I don't think that I don't think there is a right answer, right choice to be made. It will depend on the experience of your company, in the case, the experience that we have at GoLedger, and the experience of wherever company you're going to deploy your network in. But the thing is that we thought that Kubernetes, it is a good, very good framework with a lot of good functionality, but we thought it was an overkill for a Hyperledger Fabric, especially network. There's a lot of features that are really, really good, but first of all, on Kubernetes, you are very limited to the cluster that is deployed already. For example, you're going to have your master node and your worker nodes, and that's what you're going to work with, and maybe that's shared with other applications that you as a blockchain developer don't have control about. And also some of the features that I think they are central to using Kubernetes don't translate well to blockchain resources. So, for example, having replicas. Having a replica of the same node doesn't really make a lot of sense, because you're going to have double process with the same identity. Yeah,
it doesn't work. I mean,
so I mean, of course, you can have your application, your blockchain application, leveraging parts of Kubernetes. For example, having APIs managed by Kubernetes with replicas, scaling, and all that. That's fine, and that's even a good practice, I think. But not for the resources themselves, and the deployment itself. It's a lot of work using Kubernetes. So when we chose the way that we want to deploy stuff on the infrastructure, we chose to go the route of using pure Docker and having the features that we needed implemented by ourselves in the platform, and basically guaranteeing that we know the behavior of those features.
No, I fully agree, and well, I was a big fan of Kubernetes, but doesn't, as you said, it doesn't make sense for some companies to go with Kubernetes. And I often do the comparison with Ethereum. I mean, you just download the Ethereum node and then you launch it, and there are a lot of Ethereum nodes out there. So why not do the same with Fabric? Because we have like the certificate authority, we have
Right.
certificates here and there, and it's
Yeah.
really hard. So there should be a CLI that is easy, that you can even install in Windows or wherever you want, in Windows, Mac, Linux, so that it can be deployed anywhere. Because I think that some of there is one part that in the projects, and then you can talk about the use case if you want. But I see one part that is missing, and this is the decentralization part in the
Yeah.
blockchain project. So if you can talk about, well, use cases and uh,
Yeah.
how have you tackled this problem, etc.
Yeah. That is a big talking point whenever we start a project. And we don't try to judge the validity of the project based on things like that, because we know that
Yeah.
there are certain projects that require that and certain projects that don't, and we try to work with a customer to better understand how they can leverage all the characteristics of blockchain, right? And of course, we as developers, blockchain developers, we love when we get a customer that really understands what blockchain is. But not only that, but their use case it relies on all the characteristics of blockchain. So we love when that happens. We get a customer and we're like, that is a good project for blockchain, because you're gonna leverage everything. So of course you have decentralized, more decentralized applications. You have some others that are more centralized. And I think that the more centralized ones, even though they lose that aspect that is really beneficial of decentralization of information, they still can leverage other stuff that is useful on the blockchain side. So, for example, we've worked with government organizations in the past, in which they needed a way to guarantee, basically guarantee immutability of the data. So I mean, no well, of course, maybe you have some databases that do that, but like most databases, they don't come with that out of the box. And blockchain does. So even though the project is centralized, they still have a benefit of having the immutability of data on the blockchain. And of course, we always try to show that for that customer that if that data is going to be used in more than one aspect, they could have other organizations joining in and contributing to that network as well. So, for example, when you have auditing stuff, on government side, you have a lot of auditing that has to be done. Maybe you could have that auditing agency as an
Another
organization, and they're going to
organization.
be able
Wow.
to, yeah, they're going to be able to audit that information in real time, for example. So those are things that we try to show when we're working with those projects that they look more centralized. And of course, when you have decentralized projects, those are the best to work with, because those are full blockchain. Yeah.
What is out of curiosity, and feel free to say it, what is the project that has had the more number of organizations or
Um,
companies involved?
That's well. Let me think about it. Let me think about it. One of the projects that we've worked on, and this unfortunately has not become yet a full project, but it's something that we've done with Petrobras. And Petrobras is a oil and gas company in Brazil, probably the biggest in South America, and they are a state company. So the first project that we did with them is a project that we call it now GoGas, and it is basically a platform for tracking natural gas inside pipelines across Brazil as a whole. So Brazil is a very big country, right? And we have a substantial production of natural gas, and those these are mainly made on the coast of Brazil, but it's something that has to be transported from the south to the north of Brazil.
Okay.
So this project aims to, and there's one interesting characteristic about this project. The pipelines in Brazil, they were all controlled by Petrobras, but because of regulation, they needed to open the market. So they had to auction those parts of the pipelines
Interesting.
to private companies.
Yeah.
So now you have a big pipeline network that is managed by, five, six, seven. I don't remember the number, but they are called transporters. So there's a lot of private companies that manage parts of those pipelines, and they have to talk to each other. So when you inject gas in the south of Brazil and you take out gas in the north of Brazil, that is usually a sale between someone that wants to sell gas here and someone who wants to buy gas there.
So it's an
But the
exchange, no? An
Yeah,
exchange
yeah,
of
it
gas.
is
Yeah.
an exchange of gas. But operationally speaking, that information needs to go through every pipeline owner in the way. So, for example, from
Okay.
here to the north, you have like 3, 4 transporters, and they all need to have that information because of operational details regarding, the
Yeah.
balancing of volumes of gas inside the pipelines and all that stuff. So the idea of this project with Petrobras was to build a blockchain network to basically consolidate all that information that it used to be done on spreadsheets, and everything was shared, and people had to do conciliation of stuff. So it's a nightmare. So yeah, the idea was to make everything into a blockchain and put all the information out there, and basically work as a basically as an accounting of gas volumes inside the pipeline. So it's basically a tokenization
Yeah.
problem as well, because basically we are tokenizing gas volumes inside the pipelines. So that was a really, really interesting project, and we are hoping to have that be a production project in the future. But yeah, we've done a
Okay.
full proof of concept, a full platform. It's just a matter of putting that into the world now.
So it was a project that had tokenization plus supply chain, no? Because you also needed
Yeah,
to track where the gas is
exactly.
at every
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So, and every actor that was in the middle, because the actors that were in the middle are dynamic, or are the same number of organizations also?
right.
Because this,
So
I'm thinking about the fabric structure about this,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you
yeah.
can have like many organizations, but if you have dynamic companies that depending on the gas come in and
Yeah,
come out, then maybe it's hard to manage them.
right. Yeah. So the idea is that the you have the transporters as organizations, as fabric organizations, and the transporters, they don't change that much. I mean, you might have a new transporter owning a new part of the pipeline, but that can be easily solved with a ad organization. And I mean, that they are not that dynamic. so those would be the core participants of the network, and you'd have Petrobras as a participant as well.
Yeah.
Petrobras has part of some of the pipelines, and Petrobras also buys and sells gas using those pipelines. And we'd have a government agency, which is the regulator as well as a read-only organization, and that one is called ANP here in Brazil. So it's the regulator of oil and gas. So those would be the main organizations in this network.
Well, it's beautiful. I mean, one
Yeah, it's beautiful.
of the best use cases I have seen, because you really optimize a process, and I think
Yeah.
that is one of the best use cases for blockchain, where something that used to take weeks right now is in days, because of smart contracts and because
Oh
of
yeah,
interaction of
and
each.
I remember our interactions with Petrobras when they had to do conciliations because some part of the data was off between two transporters. A dispute on that data used to take I think 6 months. And with blockchain, I mean, you don't even have problems with data discrepancies because everything's shared. So something that took 6 months doesn't happen at all with a blockchain.
Yeah, yeah, but now I guess that the problem is what to do about this. So about
Hmm.
the problem that happened, because before you needed to go through all of the spreadsheets and emails, I guess, back and forth.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned also about the mutability. So I guess, well, based on my experience also, so in this case, Fabric Besu, what they give you is immutability, and also knowing in a cryptographic way who did what, because of the
Right.
identities that they have. So
Yeah.
so I think that's one level above an immutable
Yeah.
database. And so what I wanted also, is there any use case that you want to share that is, but this what that one was beautiful, to be honest. I mean, I'm not sure if, because there is also use cases about tokenization, which is
Right.
what you described, supply chain, which is also what you described.
Hmm.
And have you had any project in digital identity also? Or
That's interesting. That's a cool question. We haven't done the digital identities in the sense of, for example, of how some of the Hyperledger project do. For example, decentralized identity. I mean, of course, we have scratched the surface of those concepts, but we haven't had a use case to share on that. But we do have one use case that, even though it's not using those full digital identity concepts, I think it's nonetheless a good use case. So here in Brazil, we are working with the military police of the state of São Paulo, which is also a public organization.
yeah,
And one thing that they need to do is, of course, they deal with a lot of documents. And for example, when someone has a crime report that they have to make, that generates a document that needs to go through this whole process inside the organization.
yeah,
So it needs to have a signature of a police officer and all that stuff. So one project that we did together with them was a platform, an internal platform for them. It's not only an internal platform. There's an aspect of the citizen being able to access the reports that they made, but the idea is registering documents in a blockchain. Of course, not the full document, but
the
having
hash.
the hash of the document, and having a tracking way of how that document was dealt with inside the organization, and also digital signatures inside the PDF document. So the thing that we did is we developed a signer. It's actually a in-house signer that takes a digital certificate, like for example an X509 certificate that was issued to a police officer, and that allows the police officer to sign that document. And we registered not only the hash of the document, but also the signature of the police officer for that particular document. So that generates this full history of signatures, and also for viewing that document. So whenever someone views the document, we have a log that logs that on the blockchain. So you have the full accountability and full traceability of the particular document.
Wow. So you take the hash, you put it in the blockchain, but you also the signature up is in the PDF, but it's also in the blockchain. So you record
Exactly.
both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean it's well, it's very similar. Well, not very similar, but it's related to the verifiable credentials.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
they don't use blockchain in this case. The verifiable credential will be more for documents issued by the government, such as the
Right.
national identity document, passport, etc.
Yes.
I don't know why there is. I don't think there is any government that has ever done that. That has digitalized the national identity. It's very. I mean, the
Right.
technology is there, so
Yeah.
you could just take the national identity document, and based on this, uh, get a verifiable credential. But
Hmm.
if you are not the government, you cannot do that, of course, because you need also to be trusted. The issuer needs to be
Yeah.
trusted. The issuer needs to be from the government. I don't know why no one has taken on that.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't think I don't think I know that as well. In Brazil, we do have a version of an identity that is digital, but it's basically a proxy for the physical one that you have. So the way that you would prove that both of them are real, they are the same. They do not use
Yeah.
the concept, the actual technical concept of verifiable credentials, even though you can use your phone to use an identity.
That's really interesting. We have something similar in Spain, but
Hmm.
it's, yeah, as you said, a proxy. So, I wanted to ask you, what is the common problems that you see in, in blockchain projects? What is, I
Hmm.
mean, if for someone that, or for a business owner who wants to start a blockchain, what is something that you
Right.
will advise to do, or what not to do in
Right.
this case?
I think most of the problems that we have encountered, they are related to planning of the project. They are the very first phase of the project, and I think they usually come from a couple of different origins. Um, but the main one, I think, is related to the the customer doesn't really know its own how to translate its own process to a blockchain environment, because that usually changes. And when the customer doesn't know how to make that translation, of course, part of our work here at GoLedger is to help them make that translation. But when they do not know, they treat the blockchain like a database. And I mean, you're not getting the full benefits, right, when you do that. So they are usually related to the initial planning, to the initial process, to defining which are the stakeholders of that particular process. Because they usually want to have data security, right? But that data security, who are the beneficiaries of that data security? Is only your company? Is your company and uh, three suppliers that you have, so defining those things as a first phase, that I think is really really important for the development phase to go smoothly. Because one thing that happens is the customer doesn't define those initial requirements as well, and doesn't understand as well what they are going to get out of it. And when the development phase starts, you have something that internally we call dynamic requirements, right? Which is the customer is constantly asking for new things because it starts to understand what are the benefits. So you constantly have to change stuff, and doing that on the development part of the process is not productive at all. So so yeah, those are I think those are the things that are really interesting to think about when you're starting. Know what blockchain is going to give you as a benefit, and make sure that your that the idea that you have fits the concept of blockchain.
Yeah, because in the example that you gave, you have a company wants data security, and they put the data in the blockchain network, in their infrastructure, but then is data that is put there, but no one will access it. So
Yeah,
have you had
exactly.
this problem? How do you solve it? Because maybe there are some auditors outside, and the data that is on the blockchain is not something that they want to show to other companies in full transparency.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
because
yeah.
at the end of the day, well, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we've been lucky enough that the projects that we've had so far, they the data security, for example, the needing the data to be secure was not an exclusively internal requirement. They usually the our customers usually they have to show someone that their data is
Okay.
secure. So I think we've been lucky in that way, and I'm trying to think of conversations that we've had where the data was purely internal. Yeah, we had. I think there are some examples. I mean, for example, we had one customer of ours, which is Banco do Brasil, which is the biggest bank here in Brazil.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I cannot talk about the
No worries.
project itself because of NDAs.
Mhm.
But some of the projects that we've done there, they were on the proof of concept level, but many of them they were for internal use. But even on the internal use of those projects, it was, for example, because Banco do Brasil is so big, um, it would be something like a department having a blockchain solution, and having to share that data with another department. So there's always some other party related, even though it's internal on this big company, you have like 2 3 departments that need to share this information, and to make sure that the company is so big that basically the departments, they are almost run independently. So that's something that is really interesting about big enterprises. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end, when a company is so big, then you end up with multiple companies because they are so separated that
Yeah.
maybe they don't even talk with each other, and they have integration issues. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah, but
so
one thing that I think, just I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
one
no,
thing that I
go on.
think is really interesting, and it's related to everything that I said about how do you plan your blockchain project.
Hmm.
That's one thing that we do here at GoLedger, and that's actually what we've done with Banco do Brasil, and it's this laboratory environment where basically, for example, with Banco do Brasil, this I can say, there's no problem in saying that because it's
Okay.
public. But with Banco do Brasil, we basically worked with them to do a showcase of the blockchain technology, the possibilities, and then the bank itself opened up a registration form for all departments of the bank, so the departments could come up with ideas where blockchain could be implemented in their own department.
Hmm.
And I think they had 44 ideas to be implemented.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a lot of ideas that could be implemented in blockchain. And the runners of this laboratory program, they selected 6 ideas, and those 6 ideas were implemented as proof of concept, so basically prototypes. for the departments by GoLedger. So we worked on 6 prototypes together with each department to implement those things. So the good thing about those prototypes is that they were done in a short period of time, and they allowed us to do a planning and implementation that would show some value to the department, and they could decide if, oh, this is really valuable for us. We wanted to have it as a full production project, or no, maybe this is not that valuable. We're gonna put that in a drawer for now. So that was really interesting because the bank could decide in a short amount of time things that they could do with blockchain, and decide if they wanted a production environment on that.
And I don't know if you can talk about, but the use case were related to tokenization or
yeah, that unfortunately I cannot talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, I cannot talk about the use cases. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, but I mean the category, not go deep into that, but yeah. Okay, so about you also have in GoLedger you have some platforms that you and you mentioned that you were going to launch in 3-4 weeks another platform. So what are those platforms? What do they do? How do they
Great.
interact with each other? Because CC Tools is used also in a no code project that GoLedger has in order to create chain codes without using any code for non-technical people. So can you expand on that?
Yeah. As I mentioned, part of the work that we've been doing for the past years in GoLedger is related to deployment of blockchains. So GoFabric, which started way back in the day, is the main platform that we have. So basically, the idea of GoFabric is to simplify the management of private blockchain networks on Hyperledger Fabric technology. And since 2000, I think since 2021, we've started to get our hands very dirty with Besu. And because of that, we basically used the technology and the experience that we had deploying deploying Fabric networks to do the same for Besu. So that's GoBesu. And the idea that we have right now is that in approximately 1 month's time, we are gonna release those 2 platforms as a single blockchain orchestration platform, which is called GoChain. So the idea is that non-technical people, or even technical people that are not experts in blockchain, the idea is for them to be able to deploy blockchains easily without any technical hassle, without having to deal with all the CLI stuff that we are used to when working with Fabric and all that stuff. And not only that, but also to be able to develop their applications using no code tools inside the platform. And that's where we use CC Tools. So CC Tools is a library that is used for development of chain codes. And it's open source, everybody can use. There's no limitations on that. But we use the basis of the framework to generate contracts. So whenever someone uses the no code functionality on GoFabric, they're going to be generating behind the scenes a CC Tools. Yeah, behind the scenes is going to be generated a CC Tools chain code. So they are going to be able to use. And CC Tools makes that easy for us. But not only makes it easy, but it makes it structured. Because one thing that sometimes, when you're working with no code stuff, you need to have some sort of a structure, because coding by yourself, possibilities are endless. But having a structure, CC Tools provides that for us, and that's why we chose to integrate it. So yeah, those are the main platforms, and we're gonna have a launch next month, and that's gonna be available for use by basically anybody.
So it's a cloud solution, no? That you're going to.
Yes. So it's a subscription based solution. Basically, you're gonna have we're gonna have the platform hosted on a website. You're gonna log in, and we're gonna have a starter plan. So basically, you're gonna be able to develop chain codes and test them free of charge. You're not gonna be charged by using a starter organization. But of course, you want to make that into a production environment. You're gonna be you're gonna have the possibility of subscribing, and you're gonna basically it's usage based. So if you have one peer, one order for your organization, you're gonna be charged on those, and if you want to expand the scale, you're gonna basically be charged on resources that you are using on the platform. Yeah.
Okay, so cloud based, and the I guess that the network will be hosted by you, but then it can also they can also be hosted by the user, I guess, by the
Yeah. So the main way that we are launching it is that everything's hosted on an infrastructure owned by the user. So there's a module inside GoChain which is called Go Infra, in which you can connect.
okay.
Yeah, we are not very good with
No.
naming. But the idea is that you're going to be able to connect you're going to be able to connect the platform to your cloud environment. So either AWS, GCP, or Azure, and with that connection, the platform is going to be able to provision the resource for you. So, for example, if you're using AWS, it's going to provision for you an EC2 for the resources of the network to be hosted, and that's going to be on your own AWS, right? And of course, you're going to be able to use your own servers. You don't need to use cloud-based services. You can have your own premise server, and you're just gonna have to allow an access via SSH for initial configuration, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm looking forward to try the platform, because one of the hardest things that well, we have in private blockchain, especially when there are multiple organizations, is to expose in a securely way the nodes
Right.
between the participants. So if you are deploying in AWS, it's not only creating the C2 machine and then deploying the peer. Then you need to have a way to enter into that peer, so to connect to that peer. I don't know
Yeah.
how do you. Well, but that is too technical, but it's just a curiosity of mine. How do you
Yeah.
make sure that when you deploy somewhere, then you can access it later? Because if you are deploying in your own server, maybe it's not even accessible by. So there is some
Yeah.
configuration that needs to happen there, I guess.
Yeah. So when you're using on premise and you own the server, you're probably going to have at least some technical knowledge, and you're going to have to abide to some requirements so that everything works smoothly. And those are basically, port access and origin access, and we provide all the information that you need to
Okay.
configure. Yeah, so I mean, so uh, this is the origin of the platform that's going to be accessing your infrastructure, and these are the ports and why those ports need to be accessed, right? And then with the initial configuration, you are able to do the initial deployment, and of course with the cloud integrations that we have, because we are provisioning the infrastructure, we are able to configure those things out of the box, and we also provide a way for the customer to customize the ports that they want open inside the platform. But that's mostly an advanced configuration for those customers that really want to have the control of the provisioning. But other than that, everything is configured as it needs to
Yeah.
be to work smoothly. Yeah.
So the deployment is streamlined, but then for exposing the nodes from your infrastructure, then well, as I guess you need to have some technical knowledge, because working with security groups, well, I have worked with those, and it's a bit
Yeah.
of
Yeah, the
of
way
a nightmare.
that we do for cloud environments is that the security groups they are configured automatically, but of course on premise they need to have their firewalls in place to make it work.
Yeah. And with this platform, you could join. How would it work? For example, if I want two organizations or three organizations, everyone to have their node uh,
Hmm.
in the but independent. Will this be independent, or this will be like everyone going to this Go chain platform?
Right.
How will that work in that case?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The way that we've built GoChain is basically a way in which you're gonna have organizations and business groups. So we've kind of created this
Okay.
abstraction of business group. For example, um, myself, I want to create a blockchain network with some of my business partners, right?
Mm.
The idea is that I'm going to create my account on the platform. I'm going to create my organization. This organization, we're going to create the resources that I need, peers, auditors, and all that stuff. And I'm going to create a business group. And then with that business group in place, um, the platform is intended for organizations to be invited to that business group. And for example, my business partner can have another account with their own network, which is completely separate from my account. I don't have access to their network, but I can invite them through the platform for them to join my business group. And with the business group in place, the business group is basically this abstraction that is going to allow for governance settings. So, for example, if I
It's
want
like
to
the
create
consortium, no?
yeah,
There's the
it's like the
consortium in
consortium.
Fabric. Okay.
Exactly. So with the business group in place, I'm going to be able to um, make a proposal to create a new channel. So that's gonna be voted amongst all the organizations that are on the business group, and the policy on the business group, the policy for voting can be customized as well. So maybe you want the majority of votes to be approving for a channel to be created, or maybe you want every vote to be approving, or maybe you have a network which so-called regulator network, where the regulator decides everything. So only the vote of the regulator is needed for something to be done on the business group. So all those possibilities on the business group are allowed. And one thing that we have done in the past with the previous versions of GoFabric, but now with this version, something that it's in the roadmap, is to allow external organizations to join the business group as well. So right.
Yeah.
So for example, you, David, you have your organization deployed on Amazon managed blockchain for some reason,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
and you want to join our network, right?
Mm.
So we're gonna have a way in which, of course, you don't use Go Chain. You're gonna have to do the managing of your organization the way that you manage Fabric, for example. You're gonna
Yeah.
have to use CLI for
Mm.
joining a channel, for example, because it's going to depend on your side, right?
Yeah.
But on our side, we are going to be able to propose an ad organization and supply you with the configuration block, right? And then you join the organization. So we're going to be able to do all that with external organizations. Of course, that kind of makes it a little bit harder for some operations to be completely automatic, but other than that, you're not gonna be left out, right?
Yeah, because right, the governance for the channel, I guess that is based on GoLedger and
Hmm.
based on, I don't know, some database. And then when the rule, I think that what a pattern that is followed on almost every blockchain project is that there is one that is the creator of the idea, and is the one that pushes the idea, and the rest
Right.
just follow
Yeah.
the leader. Uh,
Yeah.
and and the same happens with knowledge. I mean, these other organizations, which in the Babel operator there is this concept of main channel, which is the founder channel, the founder that
Hmm.
creates the channel, and then the follower channels, which are the ones that uh,
Right.
create, not create, but join the channel. So
Yeah.
I guess what have you seen in your projects? I mean, is this pattern followed?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really common for the decision maker on the blockchain is usually the sponsor of the project, right? Is the one
Mm,
that that takes the lead, and that
yeah,
actually it's the one that proposes the creation of the blockchain. So that happens a lot, and for the most part, it kind of works when you have good business partners that they are not too. I mean, maybe they are not involved on the development, but they are not. They care a little bit about the project itself, right? So I think it kind of depends on the projects that we have. So, for example, on the Petrobras project that I mentioned,
yeah,
the sponsor of the project is Petrobras, but there is a shared interest on the regulator part, on the transporter part, that they need. I mean, it kind of kills their efficiency the way that things are done traditionally. It's a problem of efficiency, so there is an interest as well, even though they are not going to be an active developer or technically involved on the project. So I think kind of depends on the project.
yeah. Because I mean, about what you mentioned about the interest in the other companies, usually there is not uh, an incentive for those companies to join
Yeah.
because they need to put resources and they need to put not only the servers but the people working on the project in order to get
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think in that case, if it's efficiency, then you need less people, and then there is a big incentive.
Hmm.
But one thing that I also mentioned about and you mentioned also about the development of the chain code. Usually, the one that develops the chain code, I mean, the other participant do not care much about the
Right.
development. It would be nice in Go chain on uh, to see in the platform and with the AI. I think that even for not technical people, you could translate the code into what it
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah.
How do you see like AI blockchain
Right.
in the future?
Yeah.
On
So
the other platforms.
that's really interesting, because I think there are a lot of dimensions to consider on not only on AI, but AI together with blockchain.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the developer side of AI. We've been for I think now 2 years, probably a little bit more. We've been living in this Chat GPT era, and as developers, I mean, I don't know about you, but I use Chat GPT all the time, and I use Copilot as well, and something that we use internally in the company, GitHub Copilot. Um, and it's not, of course, it's not perfect, but it helps a lot with efficiency. And for example, sometimes you have to do this really um, there's big work on a part of the code, so something that is really laborious work,
Yeah.
um, and you give it to the AI, and the AI generally does a good job, and
Hmm.
you just streamline that part of the process. So one thing that I think I see as a possibility for us, and I think the idea that you gave of analyzing code and providing an explanation of what that code does, so what are the behaviors of that code, is really good. So you have basically transparency on on the business level, speech of what it does. That's really interesting, and I think for us, one thing that we've been looking forward to is to maybe use open AI API or something like that to fine tune a model based on CC tools and based on natural language to develop, using the framework to develop the chain code itself, and of course providing that code, the full code, to the customer, and the customer tweak it and do stuff like that. So that's something that I think it's really interesting. And on the topic of blockchain and AI, I've been talking to some friends of mine that they are on the tech space, and one thing that they've been looking at is actually using blockchain to prove that content is not AI. So, for example, images,
Yeah.
right? You have now a lot of you have stable diffusion, and you have all these models that generate images on AI, and those for the most part they are amazing. They generate a lot of interesting stuff. But you have people generating deep fakes, right? A politician X did something that is really not true, and then generate that using AI. So they've been looking to how we can use, for example, blockchain to somewhat certify that that the image to be trusted needs to be on the blockchain. So the real image needs to be trusted. And I think a lot of people, a lot of companies that they have been doing this right now. I think Adobe has been kind of supporting some embedded stamps on the image. So, for example, if you use Adobe Lightroom to edit photos, they have a generative AI tool now, but the embedding on the picture allows the picture to have a trace
Yeah.
of what has been done to the image, right?
Okay.
And just imagine that you have not only that, but you can somehow register that to a blockchain, because at the end of the day, that's all metadata that's in the file, and you can strip that away easily using a CLI tool. So, I mean, just pairing those two might be an interesting opportunity there.
Yeah, but you also have the hash. In fact, I'm working, well, there's a company called Sword.com and has this idea, but for videos. So they
Right.
take
Okay.
they take the video, they split it in frames, and then they get information and put it as metadata. For example, the location,
Right.
the angle, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember all of this metadata, but so if everything matches in the video or in the frames, then the video
Mm-hmm.
is a valid one. If they modify a frame, so
Mm.
then the video will become invalid, and this is in order
Wow.
to verify that, for example, a footage someone is recording in their local business
Yeah.
in a place, and they want to verify that this video is authentic. So what they do
Right.
is they take the video, they split it, and then they put it in the hash. They put it in the blockchain, and then they can recompute all of the
Yeah.
hashes from the video, and then verify if this video has been recorded. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's really really cool, because the AI thing, it's something that is technically wonderful and very very beautiful from a technical standpoint, but we don't know how it's going to change, how we deal with that. There's this theory, it's called that internet theory, right? It's the idea that the internet is I mean 90 plus percent of the content of the internet, it's not generated by humans anymore, and it makes it essentially a graveyard, right? Something that it's an empty shell of content, and we as human users, we have our refuges on this little application. So, for example, we have our servers on Discord, we have our friends on Instagram, not even Instagram anymore, because Meta was using AI to create AI profiles. So it's that internet theory that everything is not made by humans anymore, and everything is made by AI. So you know how you make sure that you're actually consuming content that has an intent behind, because some of this the AI content, they they serve a purpose. Maybe it's to sell something. It's an AI article to sell something, or I mean, How do we bring back, for example, the era of the forums where you went to a forum and you talked to real people with real opinions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right now I think in TikTok, and I'm not sure in Instagram, there is a tag that you need to put. Like it's generated by
Yeah.
AI. I think it's not bad that things are generated by AI, but we
Yeah.
need to know what
Yeah.
is real and what is
Yeah,
generated
of course.
by AI.
Yeah.
Because videos now are being generated, or you take a video of someone and then you change the voice, and then you can
Yeah.
make it like he said X amount of things, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
these are people that believe it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
imagine there are some videos that I saw, and they were generated by the AI. Imagine if they were able to make us think that is real. Imagine for the rest of the
Yeah.
people that don't know about this, because
Oh, yeah.
there is levels in terms of knowing about AI. For example, uh, people that are working in a day to day, they are not using ChatGPT, or they are not
Oh,
using
yeah.
these tools.
Yeah.
Not
I
as much
completely
as
agree.
us.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, I completely agree, and it's a tough challenge. I don't know whether blockchain can help, but I think
yeah,
it could have something there that you know makes real content stand out. You know,
hmm,
maybe AI because nowadays I think real content is getting buried on top on the bottom of AI content. At least in some respects, at least on Google, there are a lot of AI content is getting on top of real content. But if somehow you could have a way that real content now gets um, gets promoted by the algorithm because it's real, and that's
hmm,
guaranteed by blockchain or something. I mean, I'm
yeah,
just thinking of possibilities here, but yeah, it's something that even though it's not part of our day to day, it's something that it's good to. It's an exercise that we do of a thinking exercise, and maybe there's an opportunity in the future to have something like this. And I'm sure there are people that are working on this right now.
yeah. There are, well, uh, there is a guy named Naval, and he says that blockchain is, well, in the public blockchain is mainly used for coins, and in order to reward people. And there will be an intersection between AI and blockchain, where AI is
Yeah.
used in order to provide value, but then blockchain is used in order to reward people using coins,
Mm.
or using some kind of. But
Yeah.
well, so beautiful talk, to be honest,
Yeah.
Samuel. Don't know if you want to say something else, or
Yeah, I mean,
this.
I just wanted to thank you for the invitation. This was really, really cool, and I mean, I think we only talked about um, not only technically interesting stuff, but also
Yeah.
related to the business side, which is something that is really rare. So
Hmm.
I think it's going to be a really nice future for your podcast, doing that in the coming future, because it's something that is lacking. So yeah, thank you for inviting me for this.
No, thank you, Samuel. I mean, that's the goal of this. So because there is there are a lot of podcasts out there that talk about possible use cases, what it needs to be, but I think few podcasts talk about what is really happening and what
Right.
has. So, what have we done? How does that have worked?
Hmm.
What are the challenges? What are the what can we improve? So that
Yeah.
is, I'm uh, thankful that you like that. So
Yeah.
okay, so thank you for everyone. See you in the next podcast, and see you, Samuel. So
Yeah.
I'm
Thank
going to
you.
stop.
See ya.
I'm going to stop.